David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. Today I have for you a pen from Laban, which is the latest release in their Cambridge collection. A while back I reviewed the Ocean model, which was blue, and a couple of months ago I took a look at the Forest, which was green, and today I have for you their brand new model, Sun. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of Laban Sun, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Laban for providing this pen for review. The pen arrives in this box. Inside there is a use and care guide. There is also a cardboard bookmark, and then we have a pen. This is the Laban Sun. As mentioned previously, this pen is part of their Cambridge collection. While this pen is marketed as a special edition, I don't believe it's a numbered edition. The Sun is made from two different types of acrylic, accompanied by gold-plated trim. The cap and section and end of the barrel are a creamy ivory acrylic, and the barrel is an Italian orange resin. The orange has quite a bit of marbling. When it hits the light, it kind of reminds me of how the actual Sun looks. It doesn't have a consistent look to the entire sphere, and neither does the acrylic on this pen. Now, I'm not fond of actual ivory and what it represents, but I do feel that this creamy ivory-esque material does look nice. The darker veins give it more personality than a straight white or an off-white color. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. The end of the cap is rounded, and on the top there is an insert with an olive branch motif and the Laban logo. The cap is then encircled by two round bands, and then there is the clip. The clip is rather wide and tapers down a bit as it extends down the cap. I feel it fits in well with the overall design of this pen, and it functions well in pockets of thinner or thicker material, or even leather pen sleeves. The cap angles up slightly. We're only talking about a millimeter from beginning to end, where it meets a wide gold-plated cap band. On the band, it's engraved with the company name Laban. There is a rounded step down to the barrel, which begins with two bands and transitions into the orange acrylic. I'd say this color leans slightly towards a burnt orange, but not too much. The barrel isn't straight, it tapers down slightly, less than a millimeter from beginning to end. And then we have a final gold ring, and at the end portion of the barrel, it incorporates the ivory-inspired material again and is rounded on the very end. The cap twists off, and underneath we have this number 6 Jowo gold-plated nib. I like the size of this nib, and I feel it fits in well with the overall size of this pen. I think a number 5 would have been too small for this pen. Also, I kind of like the way that the color of the nib matches the gold-plated elements of this pen. On the nib it is engraved with Laban, Germany for this German-made nib, and 1352. That number is a reference to the height of the Yushan mountain. Just under 13,000 feet, it is the tallest mountain in Taiwan. I kind of wish that Laban would have something else on their nibs besides the height of a mountain. Mont Blanc does this, Platinum does this. Something a bit more unique would be nice. And then here is the plastic feed. The section begins with a slight rounded flare and angles up to the cap threads, which I don't find to be sharp or uncomfortable. While I care for the look and shape of this section, I have experienced that it's susceptible to staining when dipping it in ink. Not a permanent stain, mind you, but after inking up this pen, I do find that I need to use a wet tissue to remove all the ink from the section, as opposed to only a dry one. I do care for the shape and thickness of this section and find it to be very comfortable even for longer writing sessions. The Laban Sun is a cartridge converter pen. It accepts standard international cartridges and a converter is included. Since there are metal parts in both the section and the barrel, eyedropping this pen would not be advised. I'm going to say that the Sun can be posted. In order to do so, you really have to push the cap onto the end of the barrel. If you don't exert some effort, then it really won't stick on here. If you do get it on here, it does add a bit of additional length onto the back of the pen, and I feel it backweights it a bit, throwing off the balance, so I prefer to use this pen unposted, and it's plenty long enough to do so. I mentioned this in the last review of a Laban pen, but the more I use their pens, the more I care for them. I feel that they have come out with some interesting new designs over the last couple of years, and this Sun is definitely something to consider. The Laban Sun retails for about $110 and is available from a number of retailers. And I feel that that's a reasonable price for what you receive with this pen. I find it to be well made, and it has an interesting and unique look. So there you have the Laban Sun. We had the ocean, we had the forest, and now we have the sun. I'll be looking forward to what Laban comes out with in the next in this series. Maybe a sandy brown for desert, or maybe a darker brown for earth. Leave a comment below if you have a suggestion as to what color you'd like to see next in this series. Now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Laban Sun. Starting off here, we have the Pilot Metropolitan. Then we have a Lamy 2000 in stainless steel. And then next up we have another Laban model called the Skeleton, which is actually an interesting model that I need to review sometime here in the relative near future. And then in regard to some other orange or orange-ish pens, here it is with the Sailor King of Pen Pro Gear. Here it is with a copper orange Lamy All-Star. And then even though the name of this pen is the Big Red, I always thought it was kind of a coral red, which is an orangish red. And this is the Dual Fold Centennial. And in regard to some uncapped comparisons, there is the Laban. Here it is with the Lamy 2000, the Sailor King of Pen, and the Lamy All-Star. Here we go with the writing sample for the Laban Sun. And this is a broad steel nib. And the ink that I'm using today is Monteverde. We'll just call it the DC Teal. Every year, Monteverde comes out with a limited edition color for the DC Super Show. This was the 2019 color, which was a very nice teal. Come out in these bottles, these 30 milliliter bottles, and generally they are given out to the first couple hundred people who attend each Saturday of the show. Here is what the teal looks like. It's a nice teal. Here it is in comparison to the Colorverse Photon, as well as the Rohr and Klingner teal. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I am really liking this broad nib here on the Sun. It really glides across the page. You don't get that much of flexibility out of it. And there's not much variance in the horizontal and the vertical, but it does have a very nice ink flow. In regard to reverse writing, it is a little bit on the scratchy side. In regard to some fast writing, I'm liking how smooth this is. Really just glides across the page. There. And the feed has no problems in keeping up. So there we have the Laban Sun. I think it's an interesting collection or addition to their collection, and I look forward to seeing what they are coming up with next in this series. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.